So what you see, if you want to pin it to your screen, all right, you see how I've got all my supplies. I've got straw. I've got scissors. One thing I didn't bring is my pencil. So let me go get that. It's the most important tool that you need is a pen or a pencil, because that's what allows you to mark the distance and the accuracy. Right? So what I told you earlier was you finish your final drawing, 2 pieces of tape, you put it on the foam board, and then cover it with something that's clear and protective. If you're unable, if you do not have saran wrap or wax paper or plastic, like you put into a binder that holds pieces of paper, anything that's clear and will protect your drawing, then what you can do is just make your final drawing 3 times. So if you do make a mistake, you have a replacement. Once that's covered, the goal is to build the outline first. And then in my case, I did not have any piers going all the way through my drawing. Not sure why. I didn't design this. So this person, we decided to do our beams because the beam is a whole piece. And this is just a shorter piece. All right? But regardless, remember what we said. All pieces have to touch the foam board. So when I go to do this beam right here, I stick my straw inside, and then I'm going to mark this distance and the angle with my pen. All right, so I put it on the inside of my piece. I mark that distance and the angle with my pen. I take my pair of scissors. I cut it. And then I'm going to use 2 pins, 1 pin there and 1 pin there. All right, so those 2 pins are where there's nothing. I don't want any pins around here because that's where all the supports are coming together. I don't want any pins on my ends because that's where I need to put glue and a gusset. So you always want your pins where there's no other straws. Then I would just take my leftover piece, put it in right there. Same thing. Mark my distance and my angle with my pen or pencil. Pick up my straw, cut it, put it down, plop 2 pins in. 1 pin there, 1 pin there. And I would just continue. When you're doing the angles, all right, I put 1 corner in there. I might have to do a double cut. I'll trace this direction and that direction. And it gives you a little bit of a V shape. If I can find it. That's hard to see, but a little bit of a V shape. So I cut one direction, cut the other direction, and then that will fit nice and tight right in that corner. And I would reinforce it with maybe just 1 pin. So when you are done building the skeleton, then you're ready to do the gussets. So I gave you a piece of colored material. Now, gussets are random. I wouldn't just cut one. Right? Cut a strip. We're going to mass produce the gussets. So cut a strip of material. Doesn't have to be beautiful. Then just cut a bunch of random sized shapes. That's all I'm doing. I'm just cutting a bunch of random shapes. And those become gussets. Irregular shaped pieces of material that support where beams, piers, and trusses come together. So right here, right in this connection, right, let me add this 3rd one in there. So I will take my piece, set it down, mark my distance, cut it, put it in there. So now what I need is a gusset. Let me just pin that. I need a gusset to connect these 3 pieces right there. So what I am going to do is I am physically going to put glue on this piece, and that piece. So I take my glue bottle and I'm going to run glue on that piece, on that piece, and on that piece. And I don't want the glue oozing over all of the edges. And then I can spread it a little bit. I want it to go up and down that piece. And then you just take your gusset, drop it on the top, and give it a little press down. And then every so often, as that glue soaks into the paper, you want to give it a little press down. So if I have a connection right over here, now I did not do this diagonal, but I would put glue right on this piece, and on this piece. So I have glue physically up on each of those pieces. I'm just going to take my gusset, drop it on the top, give it a press down. You want to make sure that the glue and the gusset is connected to each of the pieces. That's why you put the glue physically on each of the supports before you drop the gusset on. Now, if you notice there's not a lot of gusset left, because when it dries, all I have to do is grab a corner. So when it dries, I'm going to grab this corner and I can peel it off. And all it's going to leave me with is the part of the gusset that's adding support. But you wouldn't do that until the next day. So 2 things as you're building your skeleton. Outline first. Most of you will do your vertical piers second. Then your horizontals. Then your triangular trusses. When the whole skeleton is built, that's when you're going to take your glue bottle, or I can use a glue stick. And if I want to connect these two, I want to make sure I've got glue on that piece, and I've got glue on that piece. So I want to see the glue on each of those pieces. And then I just take my gusset, drop it right on the top, press down. Don't press down too hard so that you dent the straws. And the main thing is to let the whole thing dry overnight. So while you're waiting for it to dry, I did put an assignment in your Google Classroom called Online Bridge Challenge. Okay, you're going to go to a website called Nova Bridge Builder. You're going to open up that tab, and then you're also going to open up the answer sheet. So you're going to have 2 tabs open. You're going to have one tab open where you're going to gather information from, and then you're going to have the answer sheet open where you're going to put the answers from the information you gathered. All right, it's very simple. Should be in the right order that it happens. It's almost like a web quest or a little scavenger hunt. You're using a website that I give you to answer questions on the answer sheet that's there. All right, I'm going to shut this down and then go back up front.